right? In a model where a system is working well, corruption would not be a problem. Because then again, where corruption does not exist, wananchi would see the need of paying because they know their money would go into the right use, right? That as well in the messaging that we see that comes from government on what SHA ought to do, the politicization of the same. I feel like the entire communication of what SHA is, how it will benefit wananchi is not there. So wananchi is like, the hell? Yeah. When I get sick, I'm going to look for the 6,000 bob pay if I get it anyway. And I will pay because they do not see the need anyway. So let's talk about corruption that does exist. Let's talk about poor communication and even handling the funding mechanism, because one would say where we have 32 million people who are registered, if you came up with Lipa Pole Pole and make it easier for someone to be dropping in money, they're adding into that pool. But you're being told to pay annually. You know, where many do not have that. How do we fix these things, especially when you talk about corruption? Because we have ghost school, or not ghost schools, or that to exist, ghost hospitals and ghost patients, but they are paid. How do we deal with them? Because has even the new system addressed that?
No, the new system has not yet addressed that. Why? Because we already have 5,000 facilities using the HMIS. So when the CS and the CEO of SHA was talking about 3 months for people to transition, they were targeting the other 6,000 that have not yet transitioned. But be as it may, remember that to transition will cost money. So
again,
yeah, it will cost money because that facility has to acquire that HMIS. The only question is, for every policy change or for every policy being established, has it been budgeted for? So in Kenya, we have a way of introducing a policy, then we budget after. Yeah? So instead of budgeting and then introducing a policy. So for example, if I was the one running government, I should have budgeted for the transition to the HMIS so that I can support those small clinics, I can support those hospitals or healthcare centers in the rural setup. Remember, they are the mostly affected. I would, give technical support, the training of the healthcare workers that will actually use that system. It will cost you money to train those healthcare workers on how to utilize that system. So whenever you don't put money aside to accomplish a certain task, then the implementation will be very, very messy. Now, to solve the funding problem that Dr. was talking about, there is no way you can bring money in so long as the Kenyan citizen do not have a job. So long as the unemployment rate will always be high, be assured we'll always have problems. And even if you introduce Lipa Pole Pole, kama hakuna hiyo pole pole, hiyo kidogo kidogo, there'll be no contribution. So I would insist whoever will come into government, create jobs for Kenyans, they will have a purchasing power and they will purchase those premiums, or they will be able to contribute. Even if you introduce a tax, they'll be able to contribute towards it. Because even if you introduce a sin tax, for example, let's say sugar, for example, if I don't have the purchasing power to buy that sugar, still you will not get anything to contribute towards that healthcare system. So we have to introduce that. Then also remember, so long as government does not have a social contract for any policy done publicly for the public, if there is no social contract between the citizens and the government, that thing will never work. So the social contract between the Kenyan citizens and SHA has never been good. So there is always mistrust. And the moment there is mistrust, it will be a struggle day in, day out. Even that Lipa Pole Pole, even when you go preaching the gospel, there is still no trust. It will never come to fruition. So for the corruption, we need to see those ghost facilities, those people who have caused fraud. Have they been, put to jail? Have we seen people being fired and actually returning that money that has been taken away from that fund? Until we do that is when you will create that social contract again to come back between the Kenyan citizen and the people. But we need to have a president who will have political goodwill. Because without a political goodwill, nothing will ever work. As much as we say it, we don't politicize. But let me tell you, political goodwill goes a very long way. When you look at those countries we are talking about, that where it's a tax-funded public healthcare system, that it is working because there is goodwill. From the leadership all the way to the citizens, there is goodwill. But when you realize that your leaders are going to go to India, go to London for healthcare, why would the citizen trust it? If our own leaders don't trust our healthcare system, why would I also trust the healthcare system? So because of all those factors and issues, then we still have a very long way to go until we have the ideal healthcare system that